So I've been around long enough to remember when the web felt like magic. Back in the early 2000s, it was a bit messy, a bit experimental, but it was also kind of beautiful. There were these little GeoCities sites about bands, weird fan pages that had GIFs, and random hobbyists just sharing knowledge just because they could. Fast forward to today, and every time you open a new site, it feels less like visiting a page and more like you're trying to go through some kind of marketing funnel. You know how it is. First, you get a cookie warning that reads less like a friendly, here's how we're going to use your data, and more like a ransom note. Then, before you even scroll, there's a giant modal that begs you to sign up for their newsletter that you'll likely never read. Give it 5 seconds and you'll get a pop-up asking for notifications, which you definitely don't want. Oh, and don't forget the auto-playing video that blocks half the screen. By the time you actually find the content, you've been asked for your email, your location, your credit card, maybe a photo of your driver's license, all just to read one damn article. And if you do finally get to the text, chances are that it's a perfectly SEO optimized wall of nonsense that could have been summed up in one sentence. You came here looking for a recipe? Great. First, you'll need to hear about the author's childhood holiday, their grandma's kitchen, and the philosophical meaning of olive oil. And of course, 14 ads for blenders. Scroll 9 times and you might find the ingredients. It's not just recipes. Type, how do I fix X into Google, and you'll land on a blog that asks, have you ever wondered how to fix X? You're in luck. I'll tell you how fixing X changed my life. But first, let's talk about the history of X. 20 paragraphs later, the answer, press this button. This isn't an accident. It's all SEO theater. Long intros to reduce bounce rates, keyword stuffing so Google notices, and you've got the repetitive fluff that keeps you scrolling. The web stopped being about sharing information and became more about capturing attention. The reader isn't really no longer the point. The algorithm is. What makes it worse is just how normal it's become. This is just marketing finding new disguises. You've got shocking listicles and you won't believe number 3 headlines that are just like tabloid front pages of the 80s. Except now they're designed to track you across the internet. Underneath it all, we've architected ourselves into a corner. The modern web experience is basically 3 megabytes of JS for a static page, CSS frameworks fighting each other, while your main.css is now 400 kilobytes of unused styles. A build pipeline that's so complex you'll need a PhD in Webpack just to say hello world. And then you've got core web vitals that have just tanked because your carousel imports like 3 animation libraries. It's kind of hilarious, but also kind of sad how we've drifted from the basics. HTML and CSS already kind of do half of what we're duct taping frameworks onto. You've got a details tag that replaces your janky accordion, a dialog tag that exists, but no, let's reinvent it with 200 kilobytes of JavaScript. Accessibility? Ship it. We'll add ARIA labels later. Meanwhile, we pat ourselves on the back for loading fonts asynchronously, whilst forgetting that the average modern marketing page still takes 3 seconds on a gigabit connection. Remember when view source was a teaching tool? Now you just have 50 kilobytes of minified React and a div ID that equals root. And of course, looming over it all, the slow creep of ID verification and paywalls. Do you want to read this free article? Yeah, you'll need to upload your ID first. Confirm your email, and then click a verification link that never seems to arrive. Remember to add your credit card just for the trial. Oh, and yes, there's still, of course, going to be ads. It's exhausting. The saddest part, people who built the early web did see this coming. We used to say, let's delay the real world as long as possible. Keep that corporate sludge away. But eventually, the money arrived, and with it, everything else. Now the internet is less like a wild frontier, more like a strip mall. Instead of wandering into someone's weird GeoCities page about Buffy or Dragon Ball Z, you get a content farm run by an AI that thinks dentist, cavity, best dentist, tooth dentist counts as human communication. Is there hope? Maybe. But there is still a small web out there. People running blogs, for example, or little hand-built sites. There are independent creators who do care more about sharing than tracking. They are harder to find, buried under the noise, but they exist. Question is whether we can pull our heads out of the algorithm long enough to look for them. Until then, I'll keep missing the old web. Comic Sans, tile star backgrounds, and all. Yeah, it was kind of crap, but at least it was honest crap. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.